Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. The Age of Cards. The 100 Ghosts Night Walk is drawn at the start. Chapter 21. The death knell beetle is about the size of a wolf dog, and looks like a black beetle that has been magnified countless times. More than 20 death knell beetles gathered together and rushed towards the crowd like a torrent. The students were refreshed and greeted Kaling, ready to show off their skills. Master, do you want me to take action? The bone girl asked. No, let Snow Maiden come, you can just stay by my side to guard. Yeezy thought for a while. Yes, master. The bone girl replied with a smile, got close to Yeezy, and reached out to take his arm. Quote ? Xiao Huaning next to him immediately widened his eyes. Is it such a protection law? The male classmates on the side looked at this scene with envy. Feeling the soft touch on his arm, Yeezy felt helpless. He found out that the bone girl seemed to be a little black-bellied in her bones and liked to make fun of others. On the other side, Snow Maiden took a step forward as she said, and her cherry lips slightly opened and blew gently. A gust of icy cold wind swelled out of thin air on the sand, and swept the death knell beetle rushing towards it at high speed. Click, click. Without even the slightest struggle, more than 20 death knell beetles were frozen into ice sculptures in an instant. Chin Hong. All students. You've cleaned it up. What are we going to kill? But a group of students secretly glanced at Shui Envy with their heads turned sideways, secretly startled. This Kaling's ice attribute power is very strong, and with just one blow, more than 20 death knell beetles were wiped out. And the last virtual walkthrough too. Why is the Kaling that Yeezy summons every time it is so powerful? He is also a student of Class A, but Yeezy's strength is unbelievably strong. The gap between the two sides is hopelessly wide. Gao Wendong's face was ashen. Realizing the gap in strength between himself and Yeezy again made him very irritable. Yeezy ignored other people's gazes, his attention had been caught by the sudden information. Complete the achievement thousands of people, and get 1,000 achievement points. Thousands of people beheaded. Yeezy opened the detailed information and looked at it, and found that the condition for achieving the achievement is to kill 1,000 otherworldly creatures. When performing the advanced mission, he killed nearly 1,000 black-scaled lizards, and the 20-odd death knell beetles he killed just now should have made up for the remaining difference. So, it's not necessary to release tasks to achieve achievements. Yeezy was a little surprised. Since there are thousands of people killed, there must be 10,000 people. Yeezy's eyes lit up. At this moment, another wave of death knell beetles appeared in the distance. Everyone immediately raised their guard and prepared to take action. Click. Countless ice cones suddenly appeared, blasting out like a gust of wind and rain, slaughtering the death knell beetle in the distance. Quote. The students looked at Yeezy with tears in their eyes. Can we have a good experience together? You are all alone in the limelight. Chin Hong couldn't take it any longer, coughed lightly, and said, Yeezy, why don't you take a break first and let the other students practice their hands? Several male classmates next to him nodded hurriedly. Yes, boss, you should rest for now. These little monsters can be solved for us. I don't need a teacher, I'm not tired. Yeezy looked righteous and awe-inspiring. It's better to solve the monsters on the road first, and hurry up to Deathstroke Canyon. That's our real training place, isn't it? We can't waste time on the road. Chin Hong thought about it again and didn't say more. So with Yeezy's help, the team didn't encounter any obstacles along the way, and it didn't take long for the team to easily reach Deathstroke Canyon. There are already many people hunting monsters in the wide canyon. Most are budding novice adventurers. Chin Hong took the students to find a corner, backed against the mountain wall, and only needed to resist the attacks from the front and the left and right sides. It was a good natural defense place. The presence of so many quickly caught the attention of the death knell beetle. After a while, they moved their limbs and rustled around. This time, Yeezy couldn't take it all in. He only focused on dealing with the death knell beetle on the left side, leaving the front and right side for others. The dense number of death knell beetles formed a semicircle, with students and Kaling inside. More than 20 students joined forces to resist the monster's attack. On the left, Yeezy stayed in the back and didn't move. With only the Snow Girl and the Bone Girl, he could easily crush and kill the death knell beetle. Looking at this contrasting scene, Chin Hong couldn't help but sigh. Yeezy grew up too fast. The strength gap with other students in Class A is getting wider and wider. It can only be said that he is a genius who drew fantasy-level decks at the beginning of his awakening. What? At this moment, a burst of exclamation sounded, interrupting Chin Hong's emotion. He turned his head to look and saw a student with a panicked face. Something is attacking me. My star shield has taken 1/3 of my star power. The star shield will consume the corresponding star power according to the amount of damage received. It can consume 1/3 of the apprentice Kadu's star power in one blow, and it is also an alien creature of at least level 10. Chin Hong looked around, and sure enough, he found quite a few large death knell beetles in the swarm. It's an adult death knell beetle. Chapter 22. Everyone be careful. Adult death knell beetles have sonic attack skills. When Chin Hong's voice just fell, a death knell beetle more than 10 meters away suddenly opened its mouth and made a muffled sound like a bell. Immediately afterwards, a kaling seemed to be hit head-on by a heavy hammer, and slammed backward and flew out. When the dull bells rang one after another. Many death knell beetles also specifically target card attack. The students with little combat experience were in a hurry. Don't panic, hold your ground, and kill those adult death knell beetles first. Chin Hong shouted loudly. The other side. Yi Zi also suffered a few sonic attacks. He is the only one on the left. The target is extremely conspicuous, and almost all sonic attacks are directed at him. However, with the star shield, a few sonic attacks only consumed Yi Zi 70 to get some star power. On average, each sonic attack consumes 30 or 40 points. For Yi Zi, who has 10,100 star power, it's just a drop in the bucket. Gao Wendong, who was frantically pouring potions to replenish his star power, caught a glimpse of Yi Zi being attacked by 6 or 7 sound waves, but he was still standing in the same place as if he was nothing, and he was suddenly shocked. What the hell? What happened? Is Yi Zi's star power so abundant? The attack just now took away 200 or 300 star power, right? Haven't seen him drink any medicine. Gao Wendong was full of question marks. He lost his mind for a while, and he suffered another sonic attack, and quickly retracted his gaze, daring not to be distracted again. Over time, many adult death knell beetles were killed by kaling. However, the pressure did not decrease but increased, and the swarm seemed to have no tendency to decrease at all. Chin Hong gradually realized that something was wrong. He immediately probed to look around, and keenly found that the death knell beetles in the canyon seemed to be much more than usual. Even those adventurers struggled to cope and were injured. Something's wrong. There are too many monsters, there must be something weird. Chin Hong immediately shouted. Everyone pay attention. We will leave the canyon immediately and go back to the city. Ah! The students were stunned and looked at Chin Hong in confusion. Before Chin Hong could explain, the ground suddenly trembled slightly. Everyone heard a faint roar. It was as if countless feet were stepping on the ground. What? Suddenly, there were several screams in the distance. Everyone looked at the reputation in awe, and what they saw was a scene of several adventurers being engulfed by a large swarm of insects. And in the rear, countless death knell beetles spewed from the depths of the canyon. Insect tide. My God. Run. The expressions of the adventurers in the canyon changed greatly, and they turned and ran away in horror. The students of Class A were also terrified at this time. The dense swarm of insects made the scalp numb. Damn it. How could there be an insect tide in Deathstroke Canyon? Chin Hong opened his eyes wide and his breath stagnated. Death Knell Canyon has a large number of adventurers to clean up the insect swarm every year, and it stands to reason that there is no possibility of insect tide. But now is not the time to count on that. Chin Hong made a decision immediately. Everyone immediately retreat to the exit of the canyon. After speaking, he immediately summoned his kaling to cover the students to retreat. Boom. The ground in the direction of the exit of the canyon suddenly cracked, and a large number of death knell beetles drilled out of it. Why are there monsters here? Damn, the exit is blocked. Ah, go away. Don't. The sudden change caused the adventurer to suffer heavy casualties. At this time, everyone was stopped not far from the exit, and they were attacked on their backs and stomachs. This is bad. It's 2 kilometers away from the Sentinel checkpoint. When the army finds something wrong, it will take at least 20 minutes. An adventurer gritted his teeth and said. These words made many people's faces turn pale. At this moment, there are thousands of death knell beetles in the canyon, and there are hundreds of people present, let alone 20 minutes, even 10 minutes is enough. In the crowd, a few adventurers who looked very capable looked at each other and immediately made up their minds. Waiting for the rescue to die, only by breaking through the siege can there be a way to survive. There are not many insect swarms in the direction of the exit of the canyon. If you try your best, it is possible to break out. Gao Wendong was looking around with a pale face, suddenly noticed these people, and immediately showed an ecstatic expression. Big Brother Shu, it's me, Gao Wendong. Xu Yongge turned to look at Gao Wendong, who was waving his hand, and was stunned. Young Master Gao, why are you here? The Gao family is a big family in Tianjin City. There are more than a dozen adventure teams, large and small, under the company's name, and Xu Yongge's adventure team is one of them. Now is not the time to talk about this, Big Brother Shu, you want to break through, right? Let's go with us too. Xu Yongge frowned, but after all, facing the boss's son, he still said. Young Master Gao, we have limited manpower, and it is impossible to bring so many people to break through at the same time, at most one of you. Then take me alone, Gao Wendong said without hesitation. Chapter 23. Gao Wendong's words stunned the rest of the students in Class A. Gao Wendong, are you going to leave us alone and run away? Some students couldn't help asking aloud. Gao Wendong snorted coldly. What can I do? Brother Shu's team can only take one person away. The words could not wait to urge Xu Yongge. Brother Shu, ignore these people, let's go quickly. The catastrophe is imminent. This is normal. But Gao Wendong behaved so blatantly and eagerly that it was somewhat contemptuous and disdainful. Many classmates cast a mixture of contempt and anger at him. On weekdays, he looked like a dog, but at the critical moment, his unbearable character was exposed. Xiao Huaning glanced at him contemptuously, his expression full of contempt. Gao Wendong saw it in his eyes, his face changed, he gritted his teeth suddenly, and said in a deep voice. Wei Ning, you don't have to look at me like that. Let's talk to Brother Shu and see if I can take you to break through. Don't call me by my name, we don't know each other well, and you don't deserve it. Xiao Huaning pouted, his eyes full of disdain. Besides, I don't want to be a coward who abandoned my companions and escaped alone. That's right. Miss Xiao is great. Yes, let's go together if we want to go. This remark immediately aroused the applause and recognition of many students. Gao Wendong's face suddenly sank. Okay, don't regret it. Putting those words down, Gao Wendong turned his head and left. After more than 10 seconds, Xu Yongge led his people towards the exit of the canyon to break through. As soon as they left, the power to resist the insect tide was suddenly weakened a lot, and the situation became more and more difficult. Qin Hong secretly sighed and said to Yi Zi, Yi Zi, the classmates in the class will ask you to protect them. I will go to the front to help kill the insect swarm. Unexpectedly, Yi Zi shook his head. Mr. Qin, let me do it. You can protect your classmates. Quote. Qin Hong was speechless. I am a teacher. Dignified 5-star card disciple. Can you be better than me? The classmates next to him were also stunned. Although I know that Yi Zi is very strong, no matter how powerful, it is only relative to students. How can it be compared to a real katana master? Stop joking, Yi Zi, your strength is enough to deal with 100 death knell beetles, but if you have more, you will be in danger. Listen to the teacher's words and take care of the other students in the back. Qin Hong patted Yi Zi's shoulder. Yeah, Yi Zi. Xiao Huaning also quickly persuaded, afraid that Yi Zi would suddenly rush to the front. Leave the front to the teacher and those adventurers, and we can control Kaling in the back to help. The rest of the students also nodded. If they could, of course they wanted to rush forward and fight the monsters with the adventurer. But the strength is there. A group of apprentices stepped forward rashly, which could not help at all except to drag their legs. The best way is to stay behind and clean up the monsters that the adventurers missed. No one will put a group of students on the front lines unless the situation is really critical to a certain extent. Pity. Yi Zi couldn't possibly listen to them. It's not easy to have a chance to brush achievements. So many death knell beetles, if they are all killed, maybe they can achieve the achievement of 10,000 kills, how can they give up? Seeing this, Yi didn't say more, and simply drew a card neatly. Astral card, 100 phosphorus fire. Qin Hong, the strongest present, was the first to notice the increase in the temperature in the air. A hot breath spread quickly over the canyon. Countless turquoise fireballs the size of grinding discs appeared out of thin air, and fell heavily towards the ground like stars and moons. Boom, boom. The earth trembled violently, and countless death knell beetles were torn to pieces by the violent shock waves and flames. Just a short moment of effort. There is a dazzling blank in the dense swarm. The ground seemed to have been swept and bombed by artillery shells, and it became horribly pitted. At least 1,000 death knell beetles died under the fireball rain just now. The adventurers stared dumbfounded at the situation in front of them, their mouths wide and speechless. Which Kadu strongman shot this? Qin Hong and the students of Class A even had their eyes wide open. Those who were closer could clearly see the scene of Yi using the astrology card. But that's what made it shocking and unbelievable. Thousands of death knell beetles. Killing thousands of monsters with one blow. What kind of power is this? Qin Hong's head was a little confused. Is this still a trainee card apprentice? I'm not that powerful, even a 5-star card student. Ignoring everyone's shock, Yi nodded in satisfaction. As he was promoted to a 1-star card student, the power of Baigui Yexing's astrology cards also increased a lot. As soon as the astrology card was dealt, 10,000 slashing achievement advanced 1/10 of the progress at once. Awesome. The achievement point brought a lot of motivation, and Yi walked forward in high spirits. This time, Qin Hong didn't stop him, and just watched Yi's back with his students silently. What can be done? The students are better than the teacher. Can only be obedient and stay behind. Chapter 24. The powerful 100 phosphorus fire bought everyone a moment of respite. The pressure on the defense suddenly dropped sharply. Many people looked around, trying to find the powerhouse who killed thousands of monsters with one blow. Huh, aren't you one of those students? What are you doing here? A middle-aged adventurer noticed Yi, who stepped forward, and immediately frowned. Go. Don't make trouble, stay behind. With us here, there is no need for a trainee card student to help. Several nearby adventurers turned around and saw this scene, and they also helped. Yeah, boy, go back. We take your heart. There are many adult death knell beetles in the swarm, and your star shield can't withstand a few sonic attacks. Too dangerous. Seeing that they kept talking, Yi simply pointed back. Well, I've agreed with the head teacher. The middle-aged adventurer turned his head to look, his face turned black, and he spat on the ground. Bah, what a bullshit head teacher. Hiding behind himself, let the students go to the front line. Qin Hong. The middle-aged adventurer waited to scold again, but was slapped by his companions. Stop talking, the swarm is killing again. Hey, boy, be careful yourself, don't lean too far. With a command, the middle-aged adventurer looked at the swarm of insects rushing in like a tidal wave. Yi smiled indifferently, and drew out the second card. This time he was not using 100 Ghosts Night Walk, but the newly acquired Night of the End. Astral card, Death Ripple. The air seemed to stagnate slightly. A gray ripple instantly appeared on the battlefield, sweeping across the entire battlefield with a bang. Where the gray ripples passed, all the death knell beetles fell to the ground in pieces like cutting straw, and in the blink of an eye they were motionless and dead. It spread out for nearly 100 meters, and the gray ripples gradually dissipated into the invisible. And the death knell beetles in this area have all been lying on the ground, turning into quiet corpses. Silence. Deathly silence. Even the death knell beetle was stunned by the sudden and terrifying attack, and involuntarily stopped its charge. The original battlefield. Suddenly it became silent. Such a strange and awkward change made everyone stunned in place. The adventurers stared at the corpses of monsters all over the ground, their tongues were dry, and they couldn't say a word. The middle-aged adventurer who had scolded Yi before, now stared at Yi with wide-eyed eyes, with a ghost-like expression all over his face. Is this a student? Wouldn't it be some strong K artist pretending to be? Which school's students are so terrifying? Many people couldn't help pinching their faces, and the pain made them realize that they were not dreaming. Too great. The classmates in class couldn't help but exclaimed. So handsome. This is a female classmate. The girls nodded one after another, staring at Yi's back with eyes full of stars. Not only the appearance is high, but also the strength is boundless, it is simply the template of Prince Charming. If I could fall in love with him, I would wake up laughing from a dream. Xiao Huining's eyes were full of light, and his eyes were fixed on Yi Zi, only to feel his heart beating fast. Yi Zi was very happy at this time. The progress of the 10,000 slashing achievement has taken another big step forward. Without hesitation, he used the scene card, Yin Luo Senyi, without stopping. The Death Knell Canyon immediately turned from light to dark, shrouded in a layer of dark night. Immediately after, Yi Zi summoned all the unlocked 100 ghosts scaling. With tens of thousands of star power, he doesn't have to worry about consumption at all. No need to order. As soon as the ghosts appeared, they immediately took the initiative to attack the swarm. The Death Knell Beetle, which was thoroughly motivated by the death of a large number of companions, also attacked frantically. It's a pity that they are facing 61 levels of more than 40, as well as powerful Kalings blessed by scene cards. After suffering from the 100 phosphorus fire and the ripple of death, the number of the swarm has been sharply reduced to less than half of the original. After the numerical advantage is greatly weakened, the threat of the insect swarm is greatly reduced. After the recovered adventurers joined, the defense line stabilized immediately. All were in high spirits. If this trend continues, persisting until rescue arrives is not a problem at all. Rear. Qin Hong breathed a sigh of relief. If a student is killed here, then as the teacher leading the team, he must be to blame. Fortunately, there is Yi Zi, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. However, the outbreak of this insect wave is too strange. Could it be that someone is controlling it from behind? Qin Hong was taken aback by the thought that suddenly floated up to him. Is there someone behind it? A voice came. Yi Zi returned to the rear at some point. Hearing Qin Hong's guesses talking to himself, his eyes flashed slightly, revealing the color of inquiry. Teacher, what's the matter? Chapter 25. Seeing that Yi Zi was asking, Qin Hong said his guess without hesitation. I suspect that it is very likely that Yin Karen's alien race is doing the trick. Yin Karen. Yes, the Death Knell insect mother in this canyon originally escaped from the Yin Karen plane. If anyone wants to say that there is anyone who can manipulate the Death Knell insect mother to cause a worm tide to kill the adventurers in the canyon, then except for I can't think of anyone other than Karen's alien race. It is indeed possible, Xiao Huining suddenly realized. If that's the case, just search around and you'll know. Yi Zi smiled slightly. If there is a mastermind behind it, they must be observing not far from here. But how to find it? Qin Hong frowned and asked. Yi Zi's mind moved slightly. Soon, a figure escaped from the battlefield not far away and landed beside him with flapping wings. My lord, what are your orders? The big Tengu kneeled on one knee respectfully. Check to see if there are other intelligent races nearby. Yes. Big Tengu rushed to the sky without saying a word, and with a violent flap of its wings, the gray crow feathers fell, and in midair, it transformed into crows, flying in all directions. Qin Hong and Xiao Huining were a little stunned in this scene. This Kaling still has this ability. Soon, the big Tengu returned. My lord, the little guys found the existence of suspicious creatures about 5 kilometers north of the canyon, and one of them happened to have a similar aura to these insect monsters. Yi Zi frowned. It seems right, those guys are probably the real culprits behind the scenes. Unexpectedly, someone is actually manipulating the insect tide behind the scenes. Okay, when we are out of danger, we will report to the army immediately. Qin Hong was full of excitement. Then it will be too late, and the other party must have escaped by then. Yi Zi shook his head. As long as the enemy wasn't a fool, it was impossible for him to stay in place and wait for someone to catch him after he was defeated. Then what? We can't have the staff to deal with them now. At the moment, in order to maintain the stability of the defense line, everyone has done their best, and there is no extra strength at all. I'll try it out, Yi Zi said as he drew another card. Qin Hong and all the students were taken aback. You have summoned so many card spirits, but not all of them. How many cards do you have? Gloomy light flashed. Dressed in pitch black heavy armor and holding an ink-patterned spear, Irina appeared in front of everyone. A strong sense of oppression immediately spread. This is. Qin Hong's breathing was slightly stagnant, and he keenly felt the unusualness of this Kaling in front of him. Compared with the Kaling summoned by Yi Zi before, the Kaling wrapped in thick armor in front of him is obviously much stronger. I originally thought that the red-haired youth was Yi Zi's most powerful Kaling, but I didn't expect that there would be even stronger ones. Is this from the same deck? Or is it Kaling from another deck? Qin Hong was extremely shocked. Yi Zi recounted the current situation to Arena, and then said solemnly, "It's over to you, Arena. Follow your orders, my lord." Arena bowed her head. The voice fell, a breeze blew, and her whole body dissipated like a rock that had been weathered for many years. 5 kilometers north of Deathstroke Canyon. A bloody battle has just ended. The two stitched corpses were lying on the ground, swallowing the corpse. A group of soldiers whose complexion was as pale as a dead man's body and exuded a rotten aura were scattered around, doing their duty as guards. Two soldiers escorted the prisoners of war to a man in black robes and rudely pushed them to their knees on the ground. Name. The man in black robe spoke slowly. The sound was as hoarse as sandpaper rubbing. Gao Wendong. Shu Yongge. The two of them looked ashen and lost, and their hearts were full of despair. A moment ago, they finally broke through the canyon, but before they were happy, they encountered the group of evil spirits in front of them again. Shu Yongge and his companions were not opponents of these monsters at all, and most of them were killed in one encounter. If the man in black robe hadn't left Shu Yongge and Gao Wendong, I'm afraid they would have become food for stitched corpses. If I had known it earlier, it would be better to stay in the canyon. Maybe I could support the army for rescue. Now I don't know if I can escape. Gao Wendong was too remorseful, and tremblingly peeked at the unfamiliar enemies around him. Compared with Gao Wendong, who still had a glimmer of hope for survival, Shu Yongge was ashes at this time. In terms of knowledge, he is much stronger than Gao Wendong, who has been traveling all the year round. Naturally, he also recognized the origin of these monsters in front of him. Not to mention the two level 40 stitched corpses. The pale-skinned soldiers around were the corpse soldiers, a unique high-level soldier of Yin Karen. Horrific creatures transformed from powerful warriors. There are generally more than 40 levels of power. Not to mention the two burly and tall warriors with stiff facial features standing beside the man in black robe. Level 55 Corpse Warrior. There are hundreds of monsters of 40 or 50 levels. This kind of terrifying lineup simply makes people unable to afford the idea of struggling to escape. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.